Hey guys, I want to make a video for you. We're going to do an equipment review or whatever if you want to look at it today. And what we're going to do is look at the AKU Strike. This is something that I saw, actually a buddy of mine from C4 Combatives had mentioned to me that they were training with, and I thought it was pretty cool. It's kind of a budget version of the shock knives that are out there. The shock knives are really good tools, but I think for a pair they're somewhere around like 500 bucks or $1,000 or something like that. I mean, it's just it's cost prohibitive for the average everyday guy to get in there and pick up a set of shock knives. I mean, if you have those kinds of resources, by all means do so. I do think that there's some benefit behind it, but one of the things that I don't really care about the shock knife is that you have to actually engage a button to engage the shock mechanism, and that doesn't lend itself to realistic operation and stuff like that. That's something else that the person who is wielding the knife is going to have to consider, and I just don't think it's very feasible. The other thing that I don't like about it is the size of it. The size of it is such that it's not something that you would carry around on a day-to-day basis, which is really what we're training for. We're not training for big old giant K-bar knives and things like that, which is fine, you can, but we're more worried, in at least my particular niche, I'm more worried about the guy who's walking around with a hidden folder, or with a knife that maybe he's got reverse gripped and held back that I can't necessarily see. That's kind of more what I'm worried about. So that being said, this thing is actually pretty cool. It's a lot more durable than I thought it was, and I'm just going to preface this by saying that I did contact this guy and talk to him about sending me a couple knives to do a review on. He said that he would, and then he never sent knives, so I just went ahead and bought these. So this is not like a paid advertisement or anything like that. Also, I've not done any fighting with these yet. I just got them in. So we'll kind of go into things like durability and stuff like that later on as we go. You'll see us training with these, but that's just full disclosure right now. Alright, so the grip is pretty good. It comes with a clip on it, which is interesting because it kind of gives you that feel of a folder, but obviously it does not fold. There's a battery chamber right here in the front, and you can loosen that Phillips screw right there, and then this thing folds out, and it's just I think it's like two 2032 batteries. It's just two of those little watch batteries, not a big deal. And it comes with the batteries, so there's that. The on and off switch is on the back. That first larger chamber is the on and off switch, and this is the color of the light, and I'll show you that in a second. So there's red and there's green, but basically there's three modes here. There's off, which doesn't do anything. There's on, light only, which when you apply pressure to it, either in the cutting direction, or, thing I like, not in the back direction, or in the stabbing direction, it lights up. Then there's light and sound, so it gives you a little bit of a sound whenever you engage that. We're going to turn that sound off. So, and then there's a green feature. So if you want to set up one individual, if you're having two guys basically fight with knives or whatever, you can set up one as a red, one as a green, and that way if you're kind of watching on or you're coaching or whatever, you can tell who got what. The thing that I like about this, and I think the thing that where the shock knife kind of went wrong in my opinion, is that the shock knife, like I said, you have to hit that button in order to engage a shocking effect. But with this, I want you to see that even though I've got it lid here, I can cut like this all day long, and I'm applying a decent amount of pressure, but I have to actually force into it in order to get that light to go, whereas stabbing is a little bit lighter of a touch. And this is something that is indicative of real knife usage. One of the things that I inevitably teach guys is that whenever they're going there and they're placing their cuts, they have a tendency to go in there and just do this and just, you know, slice over the guy's arm, and there's like no pressure and things like that. And one of the things that I'm always telling guys is, look, I want you to hit bone. I want you to take that entire arm off. You have to make sure that if you are going to deliver a strike, you're delivering it hard and deep. I want it in extremely hard. Remember, you're taking this guy out of the fight, so act like it. So you're going to apply pressure, you're going to go deep, and having this mechanism on it to where I can do this and it scores nothing, and then do this and it actually lights up, that it's kind of a, in my opinion, it's a useful tool to get people to apply a decent amount of pressure. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure, but the amount of pressure that it would require is something that I would think would be required to make some of the most minimal cuts. And it also helps avoid basically playing a game of tag, which is unfortunately in a knife fight or in knife training what guys have a tendency to do, where they go out there and they're just touching each other with the knife, and nobody's actually playing with any kind of intent. Nobody's actually using it as it should be. So all in all, pretty good. There was two things I was concerned about when I looked at these. Number one, back pressure on the knife. I was concerned about back pressure basically causing that knife to register a cut, and that's fine if it's a two-edged knife, but some of the disarms that we do are based on applying pressure to the sides or the back in order to disarm that blade, or even be able to grab and disarm. So I was concerned about whether or not it registered that. Back pressure on the knife does not register. Neither does side pressure to either side. So that was definitely a plus. The one thing that does concern me is this is all plastic, but it's pretty good, hard, durable plastic. One of the things that concerns me is the amount of pressure that this thing can take from the side in an actual force-on-force scenario, and that's really something that's going to come up in a durability test. Something that, you know, basically we're going to go out there and, excuse me, we're going to go out there and do some testing. We're going to fight with these things. We're going to fight hard. I'm not going to have my guys back down. If these things break, they break, and at least I'll know what they're capable of handling. But all in all, it is pretty sturdy. I just don't know how sturdy. I don't know if it's going to stand up to us, you know, beating on these things pretty hard the way that we would some of our other trainers. So we'll see, but I have pretty good hopes that this thing is going to do well. So all in all, you know, good knife, and I think probably the thing that I like best about it is the price. They're roughly about $50 a knife, as opposed to, you know, like I said, you know, $500 for some of the shock knives, and it's a more realistic size for something that you would carry on you like a folder. I mean, like I said, it's got the clip to kind of give you that folder type feel. You can even take this and, you know, shove it in your pants or your belt or your pocket or whatever and draw it out the way that you would a folder. The one downside is that it doesn't actually fold. So all in all, pretty good piece of kit. You know, I like this. I think it'll be a good trainer. So anyway, you guys check it out. It's called the AKU Strike, and or it's made by a company called the AKU Strike, and it's called the Mimic. So anyway, you guys look at that. Train hard.